Today I'm going to show you how to make baked beans, a perfect side dish for all the other egged dishes that you're going to do. We're going to use the Dutch oven and indirect on the Big Green Egg, about 300 degrees, remembering of course to bring your Dutch oven up to temperature with the egg. And then we're going to add the first of our ingredients, which is some chopped onions with a little bit of oil. And all we're going to do is we're going to sweat those for about 5 minutes, just to start to loosen the onions off a bit. Give them a stir around, get them coated in the oil, and then we're going to add the spices, the herbs and the garlic. Now, because you're adding raw spices in, this part's key before you add the rest of your ingredients. You want to give it a good stir around, get all the spices mixed in with the oil, and then we're going to cook that in the egg for about 5 minutes to cook off the spices. As with the other dishes, you don't want raw spices in your sauce, otherwise they don't cook very well. So you've got to cook them in this state where it's almost dry. Five minutes later, give them a bit of a stir, and then we're going to start adding the ingredients to make the passata for the baked beans. The key ingredient here is tomatoes. Now we're using tinned chopped tomatoes because we're actually after the saucy consistency rather than the flesh of the tomatoes. You can probably get away with 2 tins, but luckily we had in the fridge some passata left over from our pizzas that we made the other day. So we're just going to use the remaining jar, or what's left of the jar of the passata, just to add some bulk. But if you need more sauce, another tin of tomatoes, no problem whatsoever. Going to give that a good stir around, good mix in. And now we're going to add some brown sugar. Quantities are in the blog. This is just one of the sweeteners that we're adding to the baked beans to give them that nice, rich taste that you normally associate with the dish. Break all that up, mix it around. And then cook that for about an hour. This gives you a chance to bring the rest of your ingredients to the egg. And there you have a lovely rich tomato sauce, which is going to be the basis of your baked beans. Okay, now the bulk of it. This is a couple of tins of mixed washed beans. We're also adding a portion of pulled pork that we had smoked previously, and some bacon lardons that we had fried off earlier, or bacon rashers you can get away with, and chop those up nice and small and fry them and then add them. Then we're going to add a small amount of ham stock that we prepared earlier as well, just to get a little bit of richness into the liquid. Give that a good mix round. At this point, if you want, you can add a little bit more water if you just feel that it needs to loosen up a bit. And then the second of the sweeteners we're putting in is some homemade barbecue sauce. We'll do a video on making that later, but the recipe is on the blog. You just want a small portion of that, and that's going to give it a thick richness that you don't get by just putting tomato ketchup in it. Okay, the last ingredient to go in is the bone marrow. Now, we made the bone marrow ourselves, extracted it from 4 shins and then whipped it up. Details are on the blog, but this gives it a thick extra shine that you associate with baked beans, and it also adds a little bit of flavour that's very subtle, but you notice it if it's not there. So give it a good mix, give it a good stir, and then you can cook that. That will just melt down like cream. And then we're going to cook that for about half an hour. And there we have it. Come back, give it a stir, mix in. Add a little bit more water if you feel it needs it, but this is perfect for us. Baked beans, pulled pork, and bacon. So we're going to take this into the kitchen now, and we're going to add it to our sterilised Kilner jars. And we're going to leave those in the fridge for a couple of days just to really soak up the flavour before we heat them and serve them. Baked beans. Epic.